And they don't know what to do. Thank you very much. So I'm just gonna keep kind of pushing the envelope. I know we'll do anything, but that's going on. It's not planned.
How are you? Oh, nothing worse than a toothache. Oh, you got a dentist appointment?
I'm gonna try and get in over in River Valley, maybe.
Yeah.
But I've been calling, I don't have county insurance, so I've been calling closest one that can get me.
Yeah. Yeah, nothing worse than that.
Yeah, I've been in town all night, like to town.
Yeah.
There's a lot. Well, hello, Forrest. It's good to see you.
Is Lori back yet?
Yes, yeah, I'm on my beach. Yeah, I guess so.
We went to see you yesterday, out of the city, for on Monday, no promotion.
But then they come fly her all across the state. They have to fly this stuff to that stuff. It's two different statutes.
And I have to read it.
Go along.
They
Voice of local people.
went to the director of
Sign, because if you dealt with these people, it's just like an award like that.
No, it's funny when you say that, the first thing that
But they should have that too. But then that leaves her doing it. And accounts payable.
I'm gonna,
Yeah, well, what would it look like?
I'm doing it all right now, so.
But
It's really
2020.
gonna suck.
Oh, I have a whole thing. It's really.
Oh, you gotta just take care of yourself.
And I'm like, I really hate to leave you. Like, she's the only one that's
They're
doing
put there,
it. He's like, right, what he's doing so wrong for us.
Yeah.
But I think that needs to be.
Who said he affirmed it that.
Oh, yeah. I was thinking of like a root canal type.
Oh, no, I think mine's are. If you would see my tooth right now, you'd understand. I do a really good job of getting it.
My mom's, well, my baby got it naturally, genetically, but my grandma, she had, I think, dentures, she's 21.
My grandmother had
Got
that
this
too.
disease.
I've just come from real bad family real bad tea, and every time
Oh,
I've gotten
it's
pregnant, it's
hereditary.
gotten worse with each pregnancy.
Yeah.
I want to get them all four.
Listen, he's gonna be part of it, or he will go across the aisle. And it's time that leadership allows people to do that.
Morning.
Good morning, how are you?
Good, how are you?
Good, thanks. But, so that's my concern right now.
We'll just talk and see if
It's awesome. It was a good point. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know, it was every day.
I know, me either, I don't even know who's there. I mean, I have been.
It's a good joke.
People that currently have it, and I'll let them
Well,
know.
yeah,
Yeah, because there's been a couple of changes.
He sounds very seasoned.
Yeah,
You know.
yeah.
He does his homework.
Yeah, for sure.
He'll be a great rep.
Morning, everyone. It is now, oh, hang on a second, we gotta make a call here. Here. Good morning. Who do we have on the call?
Morning, Commissioner, this is David Smith.
Okay, who else do we have?
East New York.
Good morning. Morning, gentlemen.
Morning.
Okay, I'd ask you to please rise for the opening prayer and the Pledge of Allegiance before we convene the Commissioners meeting. Dear Heavenly Father, we assemble today to conduct the business of the county, and we ask for your blessing and wisdom over our meeting. Next Tuesday, we'll celebrate the birth of the National Guard. It's the oldest military organization in America, established in 1636 in Massachusetts. These everyday Americans have been called for military operations throughout the world. We thank you for these soldiers who serve their communities, state, and country, and we ask you to bless and protect them. Lord, we pray during this season of peace for peace throughout our turbulent world. May we strive to live what's written in your word. Nation shall not lift up sword against nation, neither shall they learn war any more. Then the glory of God shall be revealed, and all flesh shall it together. May we pray these words daily. These things we humbly request in your name. Amen.
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
At this time, we'll convene the Commissioners' public meeting and ask for approval of the minutes of the previous meeting.
I'll move to approve.
I'll second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
And we'll have public comment on agenda items only at this time. Okay, not online.
No,
Okay, we'll go to reports.
Kayla, accounts payable cash requirement.
Good morning, Commissioners and Director McDermott. Presented for your ratification are invoices due December 14th, 2022 to be paid on December 7th, 2022 in the amount of $2,052,237.25. The breakdown is as follows, with 64.30% being funded by the general fund at $1,313,667.11. 26.86% is being funded by grants and other sources at $551,257.15. 6.72% is being funded by RMS at $137,905.09, and 2.12% is being funded by escrow at $43,407.90.
Okay, any questions?
Well, I couldn't figure out if you said 315 or 319. Was it, did anyone hear?
319 for the general fund?
Right.
Yeah, it was $1,319,667.11.
Right.
I'm sorry, John.
I might have misheard.
Okay, a motion?
I'll move to approve.
I'll second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye, so carried.
Thanks, Ken.
Thank you.
Move on to personal actions, Jessica.
What is-
I'll do.
Okay.
Commissioner seeking your approval for the following personal actions as conditional offers of employment, subject to successful completion of a background check and other employment conditions. Just in time.
Sorry.
Saved by the bell.
You could just start with
What?
start with facilities management.
With Katja?
Yeah, I already read that.
Okay. All right, so for facilities management, Katja Fry is transitioning to the custodial supervisor position. Pay grade 7 at $20.46 per hour, and she's anticipated to transfer on December 11th. Also for facilities management, we hired Lauren Bauer as a custodial worker for a full-time position at $12.21 per hour, and she's anticipated to start on December 19th. For the Commissioner's Office, Holly Bell, an administrative coordinator, full-time position, pay grade 6 at $33,460.94, and she's anticipated to start on December the 12th. For the Budget and Finance Office, Ashley Cruel, financial technician, full-time replacement, pay grade 6 at $17.18 per hour, and she's anticipated to start on December 27th. And then for planning and development, Christine Garleman is transferring to a full-time position, pay grade 4 at $14.44 an hour, and her transfer date will be on December 25th.
Okay, any questions?
I don't want to put you on the spot, but do you know off the top of your head some of the positions that are still open so that we can just get the word out? We know we have correctional officers. Do we
Yes.
have anything in budget and finance?
Yes.
What do we have so that we can tell the
We
public?
have an accountant position open in Budget and Finance. We have LPN positions available at the prison. Our starting pay is at $30 an hour. We're hiring for corrections officers, both males and females. The starting rate for that is $20 an hour. We are looking for telecommunicators at the 911 dispatch center.
There's,
Several clerical administrative positions across the county that are open. So we're really trying to figure out a way to fill all of those with some really great candidates.
IT positions.
Yes, we have a couple of IT positions open right now. Great opportunities, new starting pay that we've established for the new year for those roles.
We have positions in maintenance.
Yes, custodial positions, electrical, HVAC positions in our maintenance, on our maintenance team.
Operator positions at RMS.
Yep, equipment operators at RMS. And the recycling center is hiring for part-time recycling crew. I can't remember the exact title, but recycling positions there to their new part-time positions that we're looking to fill as well. Starting rate of $14.50 an hour for those.
So the point is that if the public, if you're out there and you're looking for a job and it doesn't sound exactly what your training is in, you should apply. And then when you interview, they'll evaluate whether you can probably acquire the skills needed, right? You obviously an LPN has a license, so you can't apply
Right.
for an LPN if you're not licensed. But some of these other jobs, like the administrative clerical, and then the others.
Even over at the landfill, there's a lot of opportunities for people that are looking to get into that field, and we have things in place to help them obtain their CDL and things like that. So there's career paths within the county, and we're actually going to have a radio ad coming out soon, starting the new year with some of our new pay adjustments and rates. So we'll be able to get some news out to the rest of the county as well that way.
Commissioner, I'd add too that if anybody's interested in applying and if there's a position that sparks your interest, certainly apply. But with Caldera, our new applicant system, it allows us to say, I'm looking at somebody that applied for one of our positions. Maybe not the greatest fit for this job, but I can refer it to other departments that have openings.
Right, that's a good point. Plus it keeps it on file for us,
Yeah,
right?
absolutely.
Well, thank you both.
So the good news is we're down from about 50 jobs to about 25 to 30, from what I understand?
I don't have the exact numbers.
That was told me earlier. in the
Okay.
week. So we're about half that, but we're still got many openings that need to be filled.
Yeah.
Okay.
We're making progress though. A lot of good things coming, a lot of changes that are happening from a compensation perspective that I think are going to help make our rates more market competitive. And our benefit package, the health center opening, I think there's a lot of great things from an employer perspective that we have to market and share with the county.
I'll go out on a limb here, but I think that from a benefits package, we are far and away much better than the private sector. And I say that from the perspective of healthcare, in terms of the
Health center,
the health center, but also the deductibles
yes.
are now in a different range, In terms of time off, the commissioner can tell you from the years he was here that after you require a certain number of years, 11 holidays, right? So we're not always at the top of the market in pay, but in terms of other benefits, we're more than competitive.
Here's a great example. Our first facilities management person, Ada Fry, custodial supervisor. Do you remember she was leaving our office?
Yep.
She was probably at about $11 an hour, somewhere around there. A wonderful person. And you get a chance to talk to them. You know, we try to do that with as many people as we can, but most of the times we're in here. So we have the opportunities to meet employees that are in here constantly. And here's a person that just wanted to work, and she took pride in her job. And she was always friendly, and always concerned about if we were satisfied. And now, she's now at what, $20.46? She worked for it. She earned that promotion. And we give her the benefit to do so. And that's just like this in county government. You may start out here and end up over here. And we have many examples where people went into being a department head. And I don't know, maybe Jerry, he started low and now he's the head of the department. It's an incredible opportunity, and we want people to seriously consider it.
It's a career. It can be a place to build a career.
Okay, can I have a motion to accept the personal actions?
I'll move to approve.
Ah, second.
All in favor, say aye. Aye, so carried.
Moving on to action items 4.1, policy 407.
Yeah, so we recently had this policy on the agenda not too long ago, but there was one additional change that we needed to make for the coroner's office. So the deputy coroner on-call rate will move from $250 a week to $350 per week. So that's the only thing that's changed from the last time I presented this policy.
Okay, can I have a motion?
I'll move to approve.
A second.
Any questions or discussion?
This is a really good thing we're doing. Of all the employees in the county, I would say that the coroner's department is out on call
Most probably.
the most, without a doubt. All hours of the night, you're eating breakfast, you're eating dinner, you're at a birthday party, you're at a Christmas event, boom, you're called out because someone passed away. So we appreciate what they do, and
And we adjusted earlier this year, we brought it up to 250, but to be in unison with the other on-calls throughout the county, it's only appropriate to bring them up to the same level as the other ones.
All right, thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, all in favor, say
aye.
Aye, so carried. Thank you.
4.2, Commissioner seeking your approval on the reappointment of the following individuals to the Conservation District. Joseph Radley, effective 1 January 2023, ending 31 December 2026 for a 4-year term. And William Collar, effective 1 January 2023, ending 31 December 2026, 4-year term. And Commissioner Richard Maravito, effective 1 January 2023, ending 31 December 2024, 4-year term, or 1-year term, excuse me.
Commissioner, can you fill us in on this third person?
I don't know if I would vote for him.
I have a motion.
I'll move the first two. I don't know if I can move the last one. I could move the last one, I think. I'll move all
We're
three.
required to have a
I won't vote on the last one, but
Okay, a second.
A second.
All in favor, say aye.
that's the first two?
Yeah.
Okay.
And then the third one, I'll make a motion.
It's going to die for lack of a second. Does this
I
have?
think he's pausing on
I
purpose.
reluctantly, no, a second.
All in favor, say aye.
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 And I'll
I
abstain.
was going to say abstention.
Yeah.
I just
Thank
wanted to
you.
vote no.
They're a great group. The Conservation District is a great group of volunteers like Joe Radley, Bill Collar, and others. Bill Kaler. Bill came from DEP, and they meet once a month, and they take very seriously the work they do. And today, this morning, that we were at the chamber breakfast, and Senator Yaw spoke about that bill that he worked to get passed, and the Conservation District is going to be getting, close to $1 million for projects to clean up the streams, and so there's a lot of good work they do.
We want to thank you for your service on the board, too.
You're welcome.
And I wanted to make note of that as well. Commissioner Marabito, he is always there. He attends those meetings, just like he attends church every Sunday, and without missing. And he does a fantastic job in reporting to us what he's experienced out in those meetings. So I thank you for the dedication that you've given to that department.
Yep.
Thank you, I appreciate it.
Thank you. Okay.
4.3 through 4.6, Maya.
Good morning, Commissioners. Good morning, Matt.
Morning.
The first item I have for you is to approve an amendment to the Financial Assistance Grant Award. It's for the Greater Williamsport Levee Rehabilitation Project with the U.S. Department of Commerce. For this particular amendment, all we're doing is just revising the start of construction and also the end date of construction. So the end date now is going to be February 24th, 2025.
Okay. Motion?
I move to approve.
I'll second.
Any questions for Maya? Hearing none, all in favor, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
So carried.
The next item I have for you, this is an agreement with Cybergenetics. This is for the District Attorney's Office. This is a renewal that they do every year. It's particular to the cases that they see for forensic laboratory services, expert consultation, and court-related testimony and preparation of reports. And it's not to exceed $100,000.
Okay, got a motion?
I move to approve.
I'll second.
Any further questions? Hearing none, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
So carried.
The next item, again, is for the District Attorney's Office for very similar nature, but this one's not to exceed $200,000.
Okay, motion?
I move to approve.
I'll second.
All in favor, say aye.
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 Just so the public knows, these are contracts that we do every year,
Renewal.
because it gives the tools to the DA to do the job he needs to do or she needs to do in the areas of testing and other things to present evidence. So
Correct.
that's why they're kind of being approved so quickly.
And they're in our proposed 2023 budget.
Right.
Okay. 4.6?
Yep, the last item I have for you is vote to approve the inmate housing agreement with Clinton County. Again, this is a renewal as well for the prison, and this is just to, should we have an overflow issue, allows us to house those inmates at a different county at a per diem rate. So in this case, it's $70 per day per inmate.
Okay. Have a motion?
I'll move to approve.
Second?
I'll second.
All in favor, say aye.
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 Okay.
All right, thank you, Commissioners.
Commissioner? Thank you, Maya.
Yeah, no,
4.7 and 4.8, Jerry.
Morning, Jerry.
Maintenance and support invoice various software modules. Should be-
Morning, Commissioners. These two agenda items are one for the Adult Probation Office software, their case management software for $10,340 for the calendar year 2023. This is a 2023 budgeted item. And the other is software and maintenance support for our financial system at $109,653.07. Again, a 2023 budgeted item. We'll pay after the beginning of the year.
Okay, can I have a motion to accept action items 4.7 and 4.8?
I'll move to approve.
I'll second.
Any questions for the director? Hearing none, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye, so carried. Thank you, Jerry.
Thank you.
4.9, Jason.
Yes, sir.
Morning, Jason.
Good morning, Commissioners. Commissioners, for your approval is the annual aerial landfill flyover quote from WSP USA Corporation, the amount of $10,375. This is a requirement that we must have a flyover where they'll do mapping and determine our yearly fill and how much waste we place in this facility. It goes as part of our annual report then that we have to have by the end of June of the following year. So this was out for 3 quotes. We were able to get 1 quote, and it's with the same firm that we've been using. So now that the leaves are down and before snow's on the ground, time to get it in and get it finished.
Okay. Got a motion.
I'll move to approve.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. So carried.
All right, 4.10 through 4.12. She's on line.
Good morning.
Morning, Beth.
4.10 is a vote to approve a memorandum of understanding with Robert McHugh. He's a new constable, and this is just a memorandum of understanding for use of our radio system for us to take care of him while he's out on the road, marking out at residences, whatnot, like all the other constables do, to speak with us on the radio.
Okay, got a motion.
I'll move to approve.
I second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye, so carried.
The next item for 11 is an agreement with Keystone Communications. It's a maintenance contract, budgeted item for 2023, and this is going to be a quarterly item for the simulcast system, our current system, is for maintenance of the current system until the new system goes into place, with Keystone Communications budgeted item.
Okay, got a motion.
I'll move to approve.
I second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye, so carried.
And 4.12 is also a budgeted item. It is an agreement with Keystone Communications for the backup radio systems that are currently in place for the backup Quantar, the old systems that we use in case the radio system goes down.
Okay, a motion.
I'll move to approve.
I'll second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye, so carried.
Thank you, Commissioners.
Thank you.
All right, Commissioner comment.
Commissioners?
Yeah, I wanted to just talk to the public a bit about this lawsuit with the controller. Because I think it's important for people to sort of understand the history of what's happened here. And obviously my colleagues are free to jump in, but this began in the last term when the controller set up a meeting in which her attorney from Pittsburgh was on the phone, and Commissioners McKernan, Macer, and I were there with our attorney. And the essence of the meeting was that and this was really the first time that we'd had a formal discussion about it as a group. When I first came into office, the controller had approached me about the way the accounts payable, accounts receivable, and general ledger were done, and the payroll. But that they'd been done a certain way for close to 20 or 25 years, which was that the commissioner's office set the general ledger, did the payroll, and did accounts receivable and the accounts payable. And the essence of the meeting on the phone was the lawyer said to us, listen, we believe there's been a change in the code, the county code, and therefore we want you to transfer those duties to the controller's office. Now, you have to understand the context. We are part of CCAP, the County Commissioners Association. We had not gotten any word from CCAP that there was some momentous change in the way counties were required to do those things. At the same time, there was there was a threat. A threat was that if you don't change it, we're going to sue you. This was in approximately, I think, the end of 2017. Is that correct, gentlemen? I think if I recall. Yeah, you were not here.
I wasn't here.
And the three of us met, and I actually said, well, I don't think we should get into a big lawsuit. Why don't we make this change? Now, I have to say that at the time, I don't think that we fully understood the comprehension of what the change would be, but to try to be amenable, we made the change. Again, as I mentioned, the attorney from Pittsburgh had threatened to sue the commissioners if we didn't change the system that had been in place for many years.
I think it's important that at that time, which I disapproved,
Right,
at that time, we didn't file anything. We let her have it,
right.
period.
And in our conversation,
And at that time, there were no issues, very few issues with how fiscal was being managed, with payroll. Were there some glitches here and there? Yes. But just to understand that at that time, we didn't fight anything. Secondly, that the position of those offices were solid. The employees knew they had a home, they had a mission, and that was to make sure that we did everything correctly. Go ahead.
and that's important. The three of us met, and Commissioner Macer wasn't really in favor of doing it, and I said, why don't we do this? Why are we going to get into a big lawsuit fight and everything? So we went down that path. And we were faced with this gun to our head that we're going to sue you. The lawyer said we're going to sue you on Monday. I think it was a Friday or something. We transferred. Now, you have to understand the context of doing the transfer of the employees. Elected officials have 1620 rights to hire, fire, and discipline their own employees. So that's what Commissioner Macer is referring to when he was saying that people knew that they had a home and there was no issues. The controller at that time refused to take the person who had the longest experience with payroll in the county, which was approximately, I don't know how many years she'd been doing payroll, but the controller refused to take that person with them. And of course, we couldn't force her to take that person, but we thought that it was not a good decision to take the person who had the experience. We had numerous problems. We had employees who paychecks were incorrect and corrections were not being made for 4 or 5 months, despite repeated requests. We had other kinds of issues. We said to the controller, look, this doesn't seem to be working out. Maybe there is a reason that we did this the way we did it for 20 years. And at that point, I didn't have the conversation, but there was a conversation between...
I'll talk about it later.
Okay. There's a conversation between Commissioner Metzger and the controller. And the only point I want to put out is that this was the second time there was what I perceived to be a threat to the commissioners, which was about withholding signatures on checks. What we did is we then filed, when we were told that there was, if we made this move, that she was not going to allow her signature to be on checks, that meant we couldn't pay people. It meant we couldn't pay vendors. It means we couldn't pay our bills. It would basically grind the county to a halt. We proactively went into court and we filed for a preliminary injunction. And the preliminary injunction basically said, listen, we think we're going to suffer irreparable harm if this action is taken, and there was an affidavit submitted that this threat had been made. The court decided that there was no irreparable harm because...
I also want to interrupt.
Yeah.
At that time, she did not deny that.
Right.
Okay.
The court ruled that there was no irreparable harm because we actually hadn't had the county shut down, which is obviously what we were trying to prevent. But therefore... in essence said that, listen, commissioners, you haven't threatened irreparable harm. Subsequent to that, the court vacated its decision because there was presentation to the court, to the judge, who was a visiting judge. It's presentation of some reasons why the decision was not correct, and he vacated it. At that point, the controller had a certain amount of time to appeal that. The controller didn't do that. The controller then turned around and sued us in the most recent lawsuit, and it was assigned to the same judge who actually had already retired, but he said he would come back to deal with it since he had heard the court. That is the decision that was last week, or this week, I can't even remember anymore, presented. And that is the one that we have a media release today that we will give out. I just want the public to understand that this is not about some personality conflict. It's not about some effort to silence a female, because there are some constituents who have posted on social media that the male commissioners are trying to silence a female, that the male commissioners are trying to take power. From my perspective, looking back at the change that was made, I understand, for me, it's an issue of principle, that as commissioners, we are responsible in the code for the fiscal affairs of the county. We're responsible for making sure that we do everything we can to protect the taxpayers' money, and that we act fiscally in a prudent way. And I totally respect the controller's job to tell us when we don't have authority to spend money a certain way, which she has done successfully. There was an incident years ago where there was a pair of pants that the court was going to pay for, and she rightfully told the that it couldn't be done, right? And it was upheld and so forth. That's the controller's job, to be the watchdog. I find it difficult to understand how she, or the office of the controller, because it's not about Krista personally. I happen to like Krista personally. It has nothing to do with personal relationships. It has to do with the interaction of two different elected offices. The commissioners, who are responsible for the fiscal affairs, and the controller, who's the watchdog over how the spending is done. And I find it difficult to understand how they could issue payroll, issue accounts receivable, do all that, and the general ledger, and still overlook themselves. It is done different ways in different parts of the state. What I believe needs to be done is that an appeal needs to be taken, and we need a court to tell us what is the proper way to do it. If the court says, as opposed to an elected officer, if the court says, listen, you guys did it this way for 20, 25 years, and that's correct, and that's okay, so be it. If they say you did it for 20, 25 years that way, and it's wrong, so be it. We then may need to speak to the legislators, because it is hard for us to be held accountable and not have the tools we need to run the organization. Specifically, if changes are made or if things happen in payroll, accounts receivable, accounts payable, we need to be able to make those decisions. And we need a controller to oversee, to make sure we're doing it properly.
Explain it, how the differential of what the lawsuit was and what the appeals court does. Okay, one is all about legal.
Right.
And that's the appeals.
Factual versus legal.
It's factual, okay, and versus legal. Now, the appeals will be legal. Anything that this judge ruled on is what it is.
Right.
But now we need the interpretation of legal facts and the interpretation of the code, which we asked the judge to do, so that that department, you know, it was decimated because of no decision.
So and then I'm going to let my colleagues jump in, so this is not personal. This is not a personality. It has nothing to do with that. It's a question of principle and interpretation of law. The way the code is written, what does it empower the controller to do? What does it empower the commissioners to do? Unfortunately, like some laws, it's not written very clearly, and so that's why we're filing an appeal. As Commissioner Messer said, the issues of fact have already been heard. It's the question of law. I just want to make sure, Solicitor Smith, you are on the line. Is there anything that I have misstated?
No, sir. Everything you stated was correct.
Okay, because I don't want to, in my own effort to try to describe the history of what's going on so the public can understand it, I don't want to misspeak or somehow misrepresent what has happened. So that is where we are today, and this happens you see this happening all the time in government, where different branches of government that have different roles need clarification on what roles and what rights each of them has.
Can I interrupt you a second?
Please do.
Someone just called in. Can I ask who's on the phone? Hello? called
They
in.
may need.
No, looks like they hung up. Okay. All right, you can go on.
Well, no, and if there are any questions from any of the folks here, we're happy to take it or online. But I just want people to understand that we are doing this to try to make sure that at the end of the day, the people who matter in this community are the residents and the taxpayers, and we have an obligation to them to make sure that we do it correctly based on what a court, because we live in a land of law, what the court interprets that code to mean.
Commissioner,
Okay.
are you finished?
Yeah.
Okay, Commissioner?
Yeah, just so, I'm gonna add to that. And, I don't pay attention to online, social media. If I did, I'd be dead by now. But, some people do, and some people believe it's the truth, whatever is being said. It's, wasting county taxpayers' money.
If it's on Facebook, it must be true.
Okay, if it's on Facebook, it must be true. I don't know. I know the people in my circle know that I've made some tough decisions over the 11 years as a county commissioner. I didn't make everybody happy. I'm sure Forrest could attest to that, and many of the people in this room could attest to that. We watch our money. We watch the taxpayers' money. That's our job. That is our job. And somehow find the balance between being progressive, implementing new ideas, new initiatives to make our community better, to make people want to have a good quality of life and have a government that they can trust. And when you see something like this, it brings doubt to the taxpayers. I agree with them. Okay, the only thing I can say is that we're in charge of between $100 and $130 million budget. To most people, they can't even comprehend what that means. To us, it's daily. We're dealing with this daily. And we make sure that we tell our employees, listen, if you can find a way of saving money, do so. Initiatives that we had as far as reduction of employees or reorganizing so that we can save the legacy cost, things like that, it has come to fruition. When you look back from the 2016 budget of payroll to the 2023, it's less. It's or thereabout. I don't know what the final numbers were, but it hasn't changed much at all. And there's a
Commissioner,
number.
you clarify that because everybody only sees the budgeted side.
Oh, right.
Not the actual.
Okay, but regardless, payroll is one of your largest expenses, and the healthcare follows that. Okay, and it's been stable, and that's because everybody is helping. Everybody's contributing to trying to keep the budget in line, and I really believe that we're sound in our fiscal running of this county. Commissioner, I do take certain things serious and personal. When it comes to wanting to resolve issues with the controller, and you call and she says, no, you talk to my attorney. How can we come to a conclusion if we don't know whether we win or lose, right? How do we come to a conclusion how things are going to be run if we don't know the intent of the controller? So I do take that personal. If you don't want to sit down and talk to me, how can we move forward? And I want everybody to know, and I can give you a number of examples, but commissioners, why are you pursuing this? Why? On these legal notices, Krista is the plaintiff. She sued us. We didn't sue her. We didn't go after her. We didn't go after the position either, and it's not about Krista Rogers. It's about the controller's office and the county commissioner's office. who has the ultimate authority of the fiscal affairs of county government. That's what this is about, not between us and Krista. This is very important, because when a controller says she will shut down county government, if we don't do this, well, whoa. No, you don't have the authority to shut down county government. And that's why we defended ourselves and did the things that we had to do to make sure everybody got paid, okay? So if you think this is a waste of money, I will tell you, no, it is not. It needs clarified. And county code, fiscal policy and systems. This is the book that we live by. Okay? Functions of county commissioners. Typically, the first sentence gives it all. The county commissioners shall. How important is the word shall? Commissioner, you're an attorney, versus may.
It's mandatory.
Shall is mandatory.
Right.
Shall be the responsible managers and administrators. Now, please define the public out there that think we're crazy.
Mhm.
Define what managers and administrators mean. Because it seems logical to me. Responsible managers and administrators of the fiscal affairs of their respective counties in accordance with the provisions of this act and other applicable law. That is the very first sentence. The county commissioners shall be the responsible managers and administrators of the fiscal affairs of their respective counties in accordance with the provisions of this act. And as you go down, the very next section, it would be 1702. The functions of a controller. Subject to the power. Tells you who has the power. The commissioners. Subject to the power and duty of the county commissioners to manage and administer the fiscal affairs of the county, the controller shall supervise. It's pretty plain. I think when it gets up into the courts is where it gets all mushy. I don't understand it.
Can I just,
But go ahead.
So what's incredible about this is that before the current controller was elected, the system that had been in place was a system that she actually worked under for 15 years.
Yes.
So what's hard to understand is if you came into office and elected as a controller, and you work under that system for 15 years, why would you suddenly think that you have the ability to threaten the commissioners or the lawyer threatened us, because they claim there was a change in the 2018, and that change we do not think is compelling here, because we can't find the language that says that the system had to be changed. So I just wanted to
No, and
explain
that's,
that.
well, and that's very important.
Right.
Okay, it's very important because who knows? That's why we need the court to say, identify, if it can.
And if I might add, I think that one of, you gain something by being a commissioner for 7 years or 8 years. One of the things I came to realize was, well, wait a second, if there was this tremendous change, why wouldn't CCAP? CCAP puts on training sessions all the time for us. Mm-hmm. When there is a change in federal, state law, they have a training and they tell you, listen, you've got to do this. We never heard a peep out of CCAP. There was no notice, there was nothing, so, yeah.
And then, further down, but that's the first sentence. The discretionary powers of the controller shall not be applicable to the management of the fiscal policies of the county commissioners. It's clear. It's clear that I don't care what commissioners are here or who the controller is. If we cannot manage the fiscal affairs of this county, we're in trouble. Period. Because to go back, we are responsible. There's nowhere in the controller's function as she is responsible. We are the responsible figures, the elected officials, to run the fiscal affairs of this county. That's why it's so important, because, and I wish somebody else was here, but just as simple, everybody in government is using credit cards to pay transactions, so it runs smoothly and it has the protections. We can't get our controller to do it. And they make money. You use those credit cards, you get money back for using them, and it doesn't cost you anything, right?
Electronic signature.
Yeah, electronic signatures. Why? This is a fiscal matter, and we don't have the power to say we're using them? Nonsense. This is wrong, and that's why we're fighting. This is why we're going to appeal. Now, my last statement will be this. And I pray for Lori Weston as well, because she was the last person there in our fiscal department. It was decimated. There is not one person that's in that office today that was there a year and a half ago, except for Lori. And that's a major problem. And we've lost directors, we lost deputy directors, we lost employees. And we need help to gather the information, okay? We have hired people to give us guidance, and Matt's been working diligently on this as well. Everything's going smooth, but it's not without any bumps. And understanding the fact that you have commitments to the state and federal government when they give you money, you better have the right people in there to recognize when the deadlines are. And we got to figure that. Well, we figured most of it out. But there can be some bumps in the road because we can't find it, okay, in the accounts. It's there, it's just very difficult on finding it. We need to change the system in which we use. When you pay somebody's payroll is $20, 19.5678 cents. I mean, it doesn't make sense. It does complicate. We have a very complicated system in this county. It needs to be simplified. It needs to be moved into the 21st century. And we just need to take the bull by the horns and get it done.
Okay. Anything else?
No.
Okay. So, I walked into the middle of this mess in 2020. And I was educated on both sides. And I said, there's a lot of conflict going on here. Let me see if I can try to resolve it. And my two colleagues said, good luck. I came from a system where I worked in 30 years next door. The courts gave me cases of conflict and said, solve them. And that's one of the things that I was able to achieve next door. Come to a solution that not all parties were happy, but at least they were willing to talk to each other and move on. So I tried to get the controller to sit down and talk to the head of fiscal. And they agreed to, because there was a conflict. One day I get a phone call, about a year after I've been in office, and it's from our controller, and she says, the head of fiscal's in the system. You guys authorized IT to let her go into the system. I said, she's in the system as read only. She has to do her job. She can't change anything. She's in there as read only. She says, well, I want her out of the system. I said, she's only going to be in the system for a short period of time to do some work, and she'll leave. And she says, if you don't have her removed from the system, if you don't call IT and have her removed from the system, I'm going to take my signature off the ledger. Now, interpretation of that to me is people don't get paid. And that's serious. That's a threat. That's serious. Commissioner Mirabito wasn't in, so Commissioner Massar was. I said, this is what just happened. And we contacted the solicitor and we filed an injunction. Because no matter what I try to do in life, I try to prevent things from happening. That can be a catastrophe. And I saw that would be a catastrophe. People not getting paid. We filed the injunction, and when we lost. And although I respect the court's decision, I don't agree with it, because he basically said that there was no irreparable harm, because it hadn't happened. So in other words, she would have had to follow through with the action for us to file the injunction. Why wait for the car crash to put up a red light? He stood in the courtroom and he said, and he put this in his second order, this is a broadly worded statute. It's not a question of whether we have a good controller or a bad controller. It's what the statute says, and it's broadly worded. And he was looking for case law. And the case was eventually dismissed, which would be basically in her favor. And she didn't file an appeal, and then she filed this most recent action where she's the plaintiff and we're the defendants because she wants complete control of everything back. Prior to the hearing on the appeal, we went to her and said, would you be willing to do this as compromise? We gave her an outlined solution of a compromise. At this point, she had a new solicitor because the old solicitor had passed away. And she hired a new solicitor. She says, I have to discuss it with them. And then she did not accept the proposal and took it to court. And you saw the judge's most recent decision. I fully understand my colleagues stating this is it's an issue of principle, it's an interpretation of law, and I agree with that. But when is enough is enough? The public wants to see us get along. They see enough fighting going on in Washington and Harrisburg, and they don't want it going on in their backyards. I was directly involved in the last one, where I had an agent come to me and say, I ripped my pants. I said, put in a request to have them replaced. He was out in the field, he got in a tussle, arresting somebody, and his pants got ripped. In the line of duty. $60 pair of pants. That $60 pair of pants turned into $6,000 that it cost the taxpayers. $6,000 to prove an issue of principle to prove that I'm right. That should have never gone that far. Where's the common sense? And you can sit there and say, well, this is what the law says. And I'm going to prove it. I'm going to make sure. But that came out of the taxpayers' wallets. That's $6,000. There is a piece of those pants that is in a frame over at adult probation office, signed by the agent, that says these pants cost the county $6,000. And it has now led to clothing allowances in APO and JPO's contracts. So it continues to keep giving and keep taking from the taxpayers, because now they have closing allowances. The courts got to the point where they said, we're done. We're done trying to fight something and letting an appeals court or the next court or the next court, maybe we can win, maybe we can have this overturned, but it's costing a lot of money. So even though my colleagues want to appeal this, I'm at the point personally where I want it done. She can take, when I came in, I didn't care who had the control, just as long as the job got done. But when you threaten me and say you're not going to pay the bills, that's a separate issue. And since then, I've had a conversation with our controller, and I said, Krista, you knew I did not want to take this to court. But you said to me, I'm going to take my signature off the ledger. She said, I had no choice. I had no other choice. Maybe she feels like that, but I feel there is other choices without going to that measure. So if she does get this back, through this appeal that these two gentlemen want to follow through with, and I respect her decision, and she denies us something in the future, or the next controller denies those commissioners in the future, then I would encourage those commissioners to let the catastrophe happen. Let it play out, and then let the courts clean up the mess. Because we were trying to prevent a mess from happening. The court said you have to have the mess happen first. I'd rather put up the stop sign and not clean up the intersection or watch people get hurt. It's cost the county a lot of money. Too much money. I sat at a basketball game with two people there tonight. They walked up to me, sat down, asked me about this, and said, can't you guys resolve this? It's costing too much money. I would love to. This isn't about eliminating a position or going to CCAP and saying we don't want this or wanting that. Listen, they're elected officials. Just like we are. We don't want anybody eliminated. This isn't a power kick. We just want the job done. And at the same time, when we want to do our job, don't threaten us with, if you don't have a person taken out of the system right now, I'm not paying the bills. There's other ways to handle it. So, we've had a conversation. It looks like it's going to go forward with an appeal. Again, I wish there was a different way. We tried to resolve it that day with her, and she said no to our compromise. And so we'll see how it plays out. It's sad because I'd rather not spend the money, and I'd rather move on.
I just want to clarify one point here. The issue of the pants, to me, was not something about, first of all, it was done by the courts. If I
It was
recall.
done by the courts.
Done by the courts. But,
They got to the point where they just figured, we can keep fighting this, but it's up to $6,000.
right, we
Why
were
keep-
not.
Yeah,
we-
why keep fighting this?
Yeah, just for the record, I was not supportive of that, and it was not a matter of principle, because it is clear that the controller has the authority when she believes the commissioners have, or the county, I should say, whether it's the courts requested to be paid, when she believes that money has not been spent properly, or he, whoever is the controller, they have the right to say, we're not going to pay that on a case-by-case basis, right? So if an invoice comes through and the controller says, hey, there's nothing in our policy or collective bargaining agreement that allows you to pay for a pair of pants that are torn, it is her job to say that should not be paid, pull that invoice. And what happened in this case was that the president judge and her went head-to-head, and actually the president judge was overruled.
Yeah.
On appeal.
It played out that way.
Right.
But my argument was, not argument, my point is,
Right.
they didn't need to go that far.
I get that.
For
I get that.
$6,000.
I get that. This is not for me a petty principle that needs to be defended because of some personality or whatever. This goes to the core, as the Commissioner Masser read. What is the interpretation of the law that the code gives the commissioners the responsibility and the authority to administer as managers and administrators the fiscal affairs of the county? And it is a system that was being used in this county for 35 years at least. 15 years with the current controller, and at least 15 with the prior controller, and possibly longer. So I just want the public to understand that when I say it's a matter of principle, I don't mean that it is some petty thing that we just defend because we want to say we're right. If the court determines that the system should be different, the court needs to tell us that. A judge needs to tell us that's the interpretation of the law. And then that's how we live in this country. A court decides, legislature passes the law, executive branch administers it, and the courts rule on the constitutionality of it. And if they determine it's correct, that's it. And then if we need, or we think we need to make changes, we will work through our association and through our state legislators and so forth. But until that point, to strip from the people who have the responsibility, because at the end of the day, the three of us are the ones who have to answer to the taxpayers for how the money is spent and how it's administered and how the county is administered and managed. I see someone yawning, so we must be, I think we've spoken too much. But that was a clue from one of the reporters. So in any event, I just wanted to clarify that it's not some, I don't, when I say something's a matter of principle, I mean that it goes to the core of what the law says, and obviously there's some difference of opinion about it. So that's, I just didn't want people to think that we were having a discussion over a $60 pair of pants. No, I know, you're just explaining.
These costs continue to escalate.
Right, I know.
And she was found in favor of it,
Right.
and that was the judge's decision.
Right. Well, it doesn't help, by the way, that we have a rate for paying attorneys in this county of $150 or $130 an hour, and the controller hired an attorney who charges
It's now $250.
$250 an hour. And so
That's ridiculous.
that's a good example of who has the authority to administer the fiscal affairs. If we say to attorneys, look, if you want to work for the county, you need to charge X amount of money, including our solicitors.
Who were very reasonable.
Right, including our solicitors on the phone. So anyway, but the other thing that I think we should really talk about is and I'll let you lead off on that, the lawsuit that was filed.
You have any more statements on
No,
this?
yeah,
No.
just real quick.
Yeah.
Just to reaffirm, there is a difference between the two, okay? I opened up my wallet and said to the judge, here, $65. I'll pay for it, right? No. This is That's ridiculous. Stop the lawsuit. I'll pay for the pants. No. So that's kind of like a power thing. This is not a power thing, by no means.
And partly because it goes to the question of, can you have, the controller is the overseer of what we do. Can you have the fox guarding the hen house? Did they really, when the legislators wrote that, did they mean that they wanted the entity that's supposed to oversee the spending also be in there controlling the spending, the payroll, the accounts receivable, the accounts payable, and the general ledger? That's when I said to myself, this doesn't make sense. This does not make sense.
And waste, fraud, and abuse.
Right. The controller is in charge of waste, fraud, and abuse. Well, how can you...
Be in charge of everything.
Or what is the danger of the controller's office supposedly overseeing that, but also having control to do it? And I'm not making any accusations about the existing controller we have. What we're talking about is the way the system of government is set up. That's when I said to myself, this cannot be. If that's what the legislators meant, then they would have told us. And by the way, we've gone to the legislative history, and there's no indication that that's what they meant.
And for the record, the reason why I brought the pants up is to show you how costs escalate in these suits. For instance, now she has a solicitor who's charging twice what the normal solicitor charges that we hire.
Right.
So that the cost, when you continue to appeal and you continue to do this, you're not guaranteed a win. And the bottom line is the taxpayers are paying the bill. It gets costly.
Regardless of what budget is coming out.
Right. So that's my point.
Well, there's a real question whether they have the authority to hire someone at $250 an hour. Right?
Which is a good point.
Do they have the authority to do that? Or
I
do
don't
we,
believe they do.
we will have to cross that bridge?
But anyway, so.
Okay, next topic.
And listen, this is just a small part. This is just a small part. Okay, we're dealing with lack of employees, compensation policies, union negotiations. It's been a really rough year. Okay, but this will pass, and whoever prevails is fine. We have to figure it out, though. We have to have the court decide this for us, because it certainly wasn't decided.
Okay, next.
Well, so the other...
Anything else?
The other issue that I'd like to just lead off on, and whoever can... So there was a lawsuit filed by Richard Hauser and Catherine Burns in court, and we were served, and this has to do with the elections. And while it is pending litigation and so forth, the only thing I want to say is that having looked at the complaint, it appears to bring up the same issues that were brought up at public meetings in June and July, very lengthy public meetings where we had a lot of people here, about whether we should have a hand count of the 2020 election. And the allegations in the complaint seem to be the same issues that were raised by the group represented by Karen DeSalvo and Jeff Stroman. And we forwarded these complaints to the Director of Elections, and there was a presentation by the Director with a overhead where he walked through each one of them. I don't want to get into all the details because we obviously have to respond to the complaint, but all I can say is that it looks as though it is the same issues, and in the case of the paper had a long article detailing the allegations, which makes sense. They were putting forth in the paper the allegations in the complaint to inform the public. When you read those were many of the same issues that were addressed by us as a Board of Elections through the Director of our voter services. So, for example, there was a complaint that some people used UPS, a post office. That was where their registration was from. And the Director of Elections looked into that and actually brought back to the Board of Elections whether we should invalidate the registration of those individuals because there was not a proper address. So the point I'm trying to make is that I believe, and if I'm wrong on this, the solicitors again are listening, I believe that we have addressed all of the issues in the document in terms of our responsibility to address issues that are brought to us regarding elections, I don't think that we have not performed our duty to do that. Obviously, they're entitled to file a lawsuit, but my point is that just because they file a lawsuit doesn't mean that there is merit in the lawsuit. And that is not to say that there aren't people we have seen who were concerned about the 2020 election. I'm not, I'm saying that we've addressed all of these issues. We addressed them. And in the case where the director of elections thought that there was a need to refer something to the district attorney's office, they have been referred. They have been referred. So we have done our duty as commissioners and as a board of elections to make sure that any allegations of wrongdoing in the elections in Lycoming County have been dealt with properly and within the confines of the law. As solicitor, again, I feel like I'm talking up to the heavens there. Solicitor, because he's not in the room here, if I've misspoke, please let me know. Is
He's
that
biting his lip back in his office.
is that have I said anything that's incorrect?
No, as you pointed out, we're in the process of preparing the response, but we do not believe that there is merit to the complaint relative to the factual claims that have already been addressed.
Okay.
I just want to clarify one point that you mentioned, and it's the same issues, but from what I understand, because you said it in the same paragraph, the group of Karen Salvo and Jeff Stroman are separate from this group that filed the lawsuit.
That's a very good point. They are not named plaintiffs, and I apologize to Mr. Salvo and to Mr. Stroman because that is they are not on this lawsuit at all. And I'm glad you clarified that. It was the issues I was talking about,
Right. And I understood that.
not the people.
Yeah.
And that's a good point.
Just make sure that was
Yep.
clarified.
And I'm just gonna make a comment on it too. Something that was printed today, it is not accurate. And where it says Massera stated there have been issues with people changing their voter registration through the State Department of Transportation. If there were, I'm not aware of that other than the fact that you can check a box.
Read that again?
Massera has stated, now this is in their,
Yes, so you mentioned it was a mistake in the paper.
Well,
I believe the paper would be
they're probably accurate in the report. I'm
reporting
sorry.
what the lawsuit would say.
Right.
They're reporting what the lawsuit's alleging,
Yes.
Right.
so.
Paragraph
they're not
24,
actually saying it.
Commissioner.
Right, Pat?
Yeah.
Paragraph 24 in the complaint
Got
says,
it.
at a meeting in May 2022 with Commissioner Tony Massera, Commissioner Massera said the plaintiffs he believed fraud occurred. And
Yeah.
okay, so the paper was not opining.
Right.
The paper was reporting an allegation that's
Right.
made in the complaint.
They're not
So it wasn't a
saying it.
misprint of the paper. It was a statement in the complaint that they were then.
Printing.
Yeah, they basically went through all the allegations, which is what the paper does.
Well,
They
the one
report the-
reporter called me up and said, did you say that there was fraud in Lycoming County? And what? Of all the people that were out in front of this, it was me. No, that's ludicrous to even think that.
Yeah.
But anyway,
No, it's paragraph 24 of their complaint, Commissioner.
I just got.
Okay, yep.
They're reporting what's in the complaint. Okay, anything else?
That's Forrest.
Forrest, yes.
I need you to come up to the podium, please.
Right.
Yes, Forrest.
And I'm here because we had an information item I was hoping to get out, but
Oh,
since
absolutely.
we're talking about the litigation, I agree it is a pending legal matter, so we have to be very careful about commenting in detail.
Yep.
I have not read this complaint or the allegations or the evidence allegedly underpinning those allegations. And obviously, any court filing is a serious matter, as it's been observed, so obviously we'll review and respond to that. It continues to be a surreal experience going into 2023, and we're still talking about 2020, but I already previously resolved never to be surprised by anything that happens in elections. So I'm not surprised by this either. I believe we've always acted as a county in good faith and in accordance with election laws and court rulings, but obviously in the course of any policy area, but particularly elections, you're going to make a lot of no-win decisions, where what you do, you're doing what you think is right, knowing that some will approve and some will disapprove, and you know, it's already come up today. You know, for every action, there's an equal and opposite criticism. But the information item I had today, it actually ties back into the first topic you were discussing, which is the challenges we've had with the Budget and Finance Office and payroll. And that the information item is that our poll worker checks are going to be going out in the mail today. It would be great if it was possible to get a blurb about that in the newspaper, because we are continuing to have a challenge with doing that. It's taking a long time because there are regular day-to-day challenges that office faces, you know, and then when we have an election, the primary in May, the November election, it's an extra large amount of work that is suddenly dropped on them that they have to do, because we're talking about hundreds of people who work at those 80 precincts, and obviously they're great people. We value their work. We want them to be paid, but it also has to be done in the context of all of those other day-to-day responsibilities. So those checks are supposed to be going out this week. I think the total is about $90,000, and we're thankful that since Act 88 was passed earlier this year, the payments to poll workers, their compensation is one of the largest ticket items that is reimbursable under those Act 88 grants. So it's going to be covered now by what will hopefully be annual state appropriations that in the form of that grant, that then, you know, we're able to use that toward the poll workers' compensation.
Good, thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, any public comment this time? Good. None online.
There's none.
Yeah. Morning, Tom.
Morning. How are you? Well, I get conflicted with some things. I think Tom Adams, Williamsport. I think too many things are taken to the courts. I think the courts interrupt with the flow of government too much, because we have lawyers that read into law and want to change law and for power. There's the golden rule. You know the golden rule? He who holds the gold makes the rules. And so you're elected for those rules. The controller's elected to oversee how the spending's done, and that's it. And it's plain, cut and dry in the law. But now we have people, because there's no moral fabric, the moral fabric's being deteriorated from our country, in the school system, all the way through the media, because of things that they report, maybe hide certain stories or conflict, especially Associated Press is really good for that, New York Times. But when you take the common sense that was put into these laws, because that's what they were meant for, a moral and people, religious people that have common sense. And when you start conflict, you can read into anything and confuse it. And that's why that shouldn't even go to the court. The judge should have just thrown it out, say that you're overstepping your bounds and this is where it belongs, how it's been done for 30, 35 years. And there's been no change. So what makes sense and what's good is what's good for the moral part of the fabric of the country, because if it's not biblically sound, it's not good. Here, I want to read part of a quote of George Washington. He said, "Of all the dispositions and habits which lead to political prosperity, religion and morality are indispensable supports." And you can read as religion as Christianity, because the founders, that's what they viewed as pure religion, was Christianity. That other faiths weren't true religions in their minds and how they understood biblical precepts, and they weren't out to go to war with those people. Just that they, until you come to the truth, you don't have a true religion. It's a false religion. So, religion and morality are indispensable supports. In vain would that man claim the tribute of patriotism, who should labor to subvert these great pillars of human happiness, these firmest props of the duties of man and citizens. And that's telling us that people that we've seen for the past at least 100 years trying to subvert Christianity, getting it out of the public square, getting it out of our education system, getting out. Papers used to print complete sermons of pastors, and that stopped, in through time, but in the course of time, and because it got people were off of what God really wants. He wants a clean, good, strong moral fabric for government. And when you have these things with constant lawsuits, I just think they're conflict and they're high cost. And I think rule of law should be held up when there are certain things that are seen. I think they should be acted on and shouldn't have to wait to go to the decision of a judge, because now we take away representative government and have some one person's opinion or a panel of persons' opinions. And that's an oligarchy, and that's not representative government. We need to understand how to work this out and not continually take it to the courts, because we give too much power to the courts.
Thank you, Tom.
Thanks.
Just gonna add one more thing,
Yeah.
Commissioner, is the fact that, we bring a lot out to the public. We're a pretty transparent group of commissioners as far as I'm concerned. And I don't want anybody to think that Lycoming County is in disarray. We're doing fine. 99% of everything is great. And, sometimes you just hit a perfect storm or a bump in the road. And for the most part, it's going fine. And we have good people that work for the county, and it will continue.
That's a good point. I mean, our discussion here today is a positive thing, right? I mean, you may agree or disagree with what was said, but the point is our responsibility as elected officials is to deliberate in public. So you've heard different opinions here about this, and that's okay, but that's part of what we're supposed to do, so.
I look at it as every household has its problems. Okay? No matter who you are, there's no perfect family.
There's a problem child.
But it's how you handle those problems. If you can keep them in the house, so your neighbors aren't hearing you, police aren't called, doesn't end up in court, that's what you strive to do as a family, because you're going to have your conflicts. It's just how you handle them, then you learn from them, so they don't continue to happen.
Right.
Yeah.
Although, in this context, sometimes the family is the big community, right? So everybody needs to know what's going on. I mean, I think it would be improper for the three of us not to discuss in public the nature of all of these issues, because the family is the 112,000 people who reside in this county. And so they need to see all the positive, and it's not necessarily negative, it's different perspectives, the controller has a perspective, and that's okay. And the same thing with the citizens, Mr. Hauser and Burns, they're free to file the suit, and
just end with this, that I know you both know it, but remember, they're paying the bills. People are paying the bills. And it's costing them money, so.
no, I get that, I get
That's
that.
what the final decision comes down to me.
Yeah.
Thank you. Meeting's adjourned. We'll meet again December 15th at 10 a.m.
Okay, who's going where?
What's that?
Who's going where?
Matt went to DPS, didn't he?
Matt went to DPS.
He went to
Is that where, what else?
PRC and DPS at noon. I'll go to PRC.
Okay.
Bye-bye. Take care.
Hey, thanks, Gary. Have a good day.
Too.
Yep. Okay.
I gotta go. No, don't worry about it. And then what are we, PRC and DPS?
Yeah, I'm gonna go out there.
Yeah, December 3rd. Yeah, should be able to follow up. I think they already.
Have a good day.
Yeah. Yeah, well, it happens. Whenever it happens, you can kind of have to do this one.
How you doing, Mr. Stout?
How you doing?
We're doing better? Yep, no problem.
Thanks for it. See you.
I get my rest when I come here.
So
you know.
when are you filing the appeal?
Has to be done by Monday.
Has to be my I didn't write the story about that, the suit part.
But, you know, we.
So, I'm just saying that I didn't, he may have put that in there, I didn't read it.
I just got it myself this morning, just before you.
You mean the law?
Articles on, your, health center.
Yeah, that's
That
what
is fantastic.
Is that nice?
Well, yeah, I don't know, I mean, and it's a. I hear you an article on the. Yes. Next week? Nice. Yes, well, I'm excited, it's the first one in the state, and, yeah, it's, they save money in other areas. Gentlemen who started every spring for
Jay.
very knowledgeable. Well, I mean, it was super impressive, and I thought that nobody would shout out, it takes furry to be the first in something. But I said, I think it's gonna be an.
You're welcome.
Trailblazer